Welcome to the shop. Got the Xfly Tasman from Banana Hobby. Thanks Banana Hobby for sending it to me. I have a lot of planes similar to this. I have a lot of planes that fit that STOL 1.3 to 1.5 range, $300, under $300 range. And so when I got this one, you know, in my mind, I'm like everybody. I'm comparing it to some of those other planes. And giving you, and that's what I plan to do, is kind of give you some highlights of what this plane really does well, and what this plane, it's not perfect, it's not for everybody. And I'm going to highlight that in the video. But first, we're going to go through the unboxing, where I look at everything, the quality of the parts, quality of the packaging. I'm going to assemble it, let you know, hey, on some of the assembly, here's some tricky spots, things you might need to note if you get this plane and you're trying to assemble it. We're going to maiden it, show you my settings, where I ended up. I have Spectrum AS3X Plus on it, so I'll show you my settings that I use, which pretty much they're going to be stock, except, you know, the throws, I did a little bit with the throws. Then we're going to have some fun, fly in, come back to the shop, and I'm going to summarize. Is this the plane for you? Is this the right plane? I'm going to give you those pros and cons of what I think of the plane. And if you have any questions, leave a comment. If you like the content of the video, you know, hit the like button. It does help me out a lot. You know, just by hitting that like button, it makes a difference to my channel. I appreciate it. So stick around. Let's unbox it. Here's all the parts for the Xfly Tasman 1.5 4S. As far as wings, everything looks good. Paint looks good. The color is fantastic. I don't think you're going to have a hard time seeing this thing. Let's see, just looking at how some of this is set up. There aren't any quick connects for the wings. You're going to have to screw those on and plug in these cables. So if you are removing the wing for travel and such, just keep note that, yeah, you're going to have some plugs to mess with, which will take you all of, 5 minutes. You've got 4 screws holding that on. The tail section here is held on by a couple screws. This just slides in place and screw it in and you're done. So that's easy. We're going to go through and assemble this. It's going to take all of, like I said, just a few minutes. It's just a couple screws, and then we'll get it up and running. We'll put our receiver in it, probably AR631. We'll put AS3X Plus on it and get that set up and start testing this thing out. Some parts to assemble. You got the machine screws here, all the same length. That's pretty much what you're going to be using throughout the whole install of the tail, wings, landing gear, just those guys. You got your little clips, and then you got 2 of those guys. One of them is going to be used for the spinner. You got your control rods and Allen wrench and a way to inflate the tires or deflate the tires, depending on what you're wanting to do. First thing, let's put on the horizontal stabilizer. It slides in place and kind of keys in place. You're going to have to move the rudder out of the way so you can get in there and screw these guys in. Careful not to get too close to the rudder and scrape off the paint. Don't want to do that with your brand new plane. Tighten. I don't think you need to go crazy with it, but tighten. All right, that was pretty simple. You're on. Goes in place like so. Then you got this cover piece, only goes on one way, and that's it. Can't get much easier. Locked down pretty good. And then this last one. That locks in pretty tight. And now we've got a plane on the wheels. Really, we're cruising along here well. All right. Installing the Installing the control arm for the elevator is pretty simple. You're going to just turn this in and out to make sure that the elevator is perfectly neutral, the best you can. But I'm not going to actually click that in yet until I get my receiver in and I center all my servos. Alright, so I decided to plug in both the flap and the ailerons into the Y harness, then shove in all the wires in. It's just going to make another easy step. So do that instead of try to do it prior. Screw these two screws in place, holding the wing kind of up against attach point so the screws actually go in. Try not to scrape the fuselage as you're screwing them in, and that's pretty much done. You still have this piece which needs to have a cotter pin installed. We're going to do that, but might use screws like I said. Sometimes I'll do that. That was pretty simple. They slide in real easy. Hopefully you can see that. All right, now do the other wing. I want to go through the calibration of the ESC. One of the first things you need to do after you've bound your receiver, you've got everything set in your radio. The servo controls and everything aren't correct. That doesn't matter. Right now what we want to do is calibrate the ESC. First thing we're going to do is turn the motor on, go full throttle. Prop is off. We're going to plug it in. ESC is going to make a noise. It's going to go beep, 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 like that. Then we go all the way down. And it's going to beep a couple more times. That last tune right there says, okay, I'm all ready to go. So, ESC is calibrated, so we're good there.
Motor off.
Turn the motor off. And now I can test my surfaces. Also, if you copy files over from one plane to the other, make sure all your trims are set to neutral. That's just something that sometimes you get caught on that. Same thing with the flaps and your mixes and such. You know, you can, I'll show you how I do my mixes for my flaps for a plane like this. But anyway, so now I'm going to go through and test all of the control surfaces. Are they going the right way? No, they're not. Ailerons are reversed. So I'm going to go in and make sure that those are all going the right way. Also, what I do is
take off flaps.
Make sure the servo for the flap is going the right way before I put these on. Just to make sure, because if it goes the opposite way and it's pushing and lifting this up and overextending, you're going to either break the servo or you're going to break the flap. So do not put your control rods on your flaps until you've determined they're going the right way. Then go ahead and do all that stuff, get everything nice and centered, and then we'll tune up the rest of it. Tasman's complete. Radio's in, set up. Really, basically everything's ready for Maiden. Have all the control surfaces checked as far as the throws. They're the throws I like. I went with max throws on everything. Just boosted them up. Have got to play with the Expo, of course, you know, when I get up in the air and start doing the Maiden and things like that. So that's how I set it up. I'll have my setup page, everything that I've used on this plane probably the fun flight. After I tune everything, I'll have that done for you. Anyway, so that's pretty much it. It went together simply. The most difficult part, it wasn't a difficult part because I had to redo it. I should have just put in the Y cables, used all the Y cables and connected those or put those into the wing area and then attached prior to connecting the wings. I thought I could get my hands in there and connect those Y cables up, but there just wasn't enough wire, especially on the flaps. They weren't very long. Those servos weren't very long. Anyway, all done, ready to go. It's important to get these planes set up how you like them. I started with basically the high rates in the manual, and actually those turned out to be fine. You know, I'll have my setup on exactly what I did further in this chapter. Center of gravity on this plane is pretty generous. It says 60 millimeters back from the leading edge, which is around there. I moved the battery all over the place. Forward, back. Plane just flew great, no matter what. Even flew with 3400s, and it didn't really bother it. The squishy wheels take air. Pull out that plug, insert your pump, and add 1 or 2 pumps, and you're good to go. All right, all assembled, ready to maiden. So we're heading to the field. Have the Xfly Tasman. Just got it from Banana Hobby. Thank you, Banana Hobby. It's been around a while. But, you know, I mean, I have a mess of these STOL planes around the same size, around the same dollar amount, and so kind of having this one to the collection is going to be kind of nice. So we're going to get it up in the air, get it maidened. The weather's not great, but we'll maiden it the best we can, like I always do on my maidens. So stick around, let me go through the process. Already did a range check, and we're good to go. Get her up, about half throttle. And she needs a little aileron, little elevator. Let's fly her in front of us here. Boy, she flies easy. And there's got some wind here, so it's gonna mess with me a little bit. Need a little bit more aileron adjusting. Okay, we're good there. Let's go up and do a test the control surfaces a little bit. Roll rate's fine. And do inverted test. Got a 2200 in there. And the CG's pretty much at 60, maybe a little behind 60, which is the manufacturer's recommended. Definitely not nose heavy, not tail heavy either. And get the flaps and adjust the mix. Slow down, little flap. Boy, she goes straight up, don't she? Gotta push that elevator down a little bit on half flap. Maybe a little bit more, and full flat. That's pretty good. All right, let's do a stall test. Okay, slowing down. Elevator, the wind is really messing with us up there. Yeah, she doesn't even drop a wing, she just drops almost elevators down. Now the wind is a little wonky, but stall characteristics, very good. Alright, I'm going to flip on to AS3X and see how that helps her. Doing good there. AS3X isn't doing anything crazy. We'll do a couple. All right, I want to do a couple test landings here.
Takeoff flaps.
Little flap. Make my turn. Do a couple approaches with an option to land if I so wish. Got just half flap. nice. Full flap. Yeah, full flap here. Let's bring her in. Try to get a 3-pointer. Cut back on throttle. Boy, she glides well. Bouncy wheels a little bit. But we're about out of time. I just set the timer for 4 minutes. That's it for the Maiden. I don't know how the battery's going to handle. Probably could have looked at YouTube and watched everybody else fly this thing. All right, so she's all set up pretty well based on, you know, the wind's not great, but that's okay. All right, let's check out that battery. Half throttle. Seems like pretty good. Very efficient plane. Floats real well. Cross control real well. I'm going to give a little flap.
Takeoff flaps.
That's half flap.
Landing flaps.
Full flap. I'm going to give a little down on that. Let's bring her by. Nice slow flight. Just quarter throttle.
Flaps up.
Power, very good. Big loops. Reverse Cubanate. Straight up. Full throttle. And almost unlimited, but not quite. Knife edge, not a problem. Not a whole lot of coupling either, which is weird for a plane like this. So, aerobatic qualities, very good.
Landing flaps.
Let's slow her down. That's pretty slow. Yeah, I mean, just all-purpose plane. Yeah. Great size, great quality. You know, that bigger wingspan, which is nice, and the power performance as you'd expect for a plane like this. Let's get her 3-point. Big squishy tires. You got a 3-point. We'll try to do them on the main. Let's do a landing on the mains. A little too far down there. Let's get a little closer. She glides she's just super light. I'm really liking how light she is. I think that's the one thing. It's just I've weighed her compared to some of the other planes, and it just seems like a lighter flying plane. And of course, with those tires, she can handle grass without any issues, even pretty tall grass. All right, bringing her in. Really a fun plane. Really have fun with this plane. Welcome back. All right, let's summarize, shall we, about the Xfly Tasman. By the way, again, thanks for Banana Hobby for sending it to me. If you're interested in the plane, want to check it out in detail, the link to Banana Hobby's website is below. Let's chat about the quality of the plane itself. All of the things that Xfly did that make this a good plane. Plastic hard points where you carry it. That's always a thing for me, right there. I want some plastic there because I'm always squishing the foam. The foam quality is excellent. The paint is very good. The components like squishy tires and a metal gear servo on the rudder, because this tail wheel back here, if it was plastic, there's no way that thing would last. So from that perspective, the power of the motor, the ease of putting batteries in, through that top hatch, all of those things were winners in my mind as far as from a parts perspective. The assembly, it couldn't be any simpler, right? I mean, literally 4 screws, 2 screws, 3 screws on the landing gear, and you're up. Plug in everything, and you're good to go. So from an assembly standpoint, pretty straightforward. You need air in the tires. Okay, so some kind of pump like this thing, that's helpful. My tires, one of them, did develop a slight leak. Put a little bead of, I don't know what kind of glue I used, like a foam tack, some kind of, contact flexible adhesive, and it seemed to slow that leak down, so I'm good to go. Let's talk about flying, because that's really what this is about, right? So, a couple things. One is the slow flight. To me, it seemed to fly very light. It weighs more than the Bigfoot and the Kingfisher. My original, the original Turbo Timber, it weighs a little bit more, but yet power, it just flew great. I think the wing load might be different. It's a nice big wing. Maybe that had something to do with it. The flight just seemed lighter for me. The bad habits, right? The stalling, I couldn't really get it to stall. It just mush. So from a stability standpoint on slow flight, absolutely fantastic. Now you push that throttle and you do a little bit more. You want to do some aerobatics, and I didn't have any issues. Inverted, knife edge, big loops, small loops, tight loops. It didn't snap. So some of those characteristics were really, really good. I was very impressed with that and how it compares to some of those other planes. It was well on par. But actually from the slow flight, I think it just flew better for me. I enjoyed that more compared to those other planes that are in the same class. The tires, I really like the tires. The other experience I've had with these big squishy tires is on my Super Timber, and they bounce like a son of a gun. I mean, you can't even bring it in hardly on the mains. You had to 3-point them all the time. This, I can land on the mains. And so these, I was very impressed with these tires and how well they worked. Very sturdy, everything pretty darn solid on that. From a flyability perspective, very good plane. Often I talk about who is this plane for. And so I wanted to kind of talk about the pros and cons of this plane. From a pro's perspective, and again, some of this is subjective. So for me, the looks of this plane, I like the looks of it. I like the color. I like the size. I like a 1.5. It's just a bigger plane. I think bigger planes fly better, a little bit more stable. This plane checks all those boxes of really quality, well-made, performs exceptionally well, takes 2,200 batteries or 3,300 batteries for long, long flight times, and it doesn't miss a beat, from that perspective. So a lot of pros on how it flies, no bad habits, and so on and so forth. The things that are different than some of the other planes I mentioned before as far as how this compares. One is a 1.5. These wings, you got to unscrew and detach the servo lines. So if you're going to travel with this, there's some work here, pulling the struts out, unscrewing. Okay, so that's a caveat. If you had like the Arrows Bigfoot, it slides in the back of a car. Now this slides in the back of my truck, no problem. It will fit in my friend's MDX. A little tight, but it will fit. So he didn't have to tear it down as far as, for him to travel with this. As far as this, no floats. You can't have floats on it. You can put skis on it. But again, it depends on what you're looking for. This is, I wouldn't per se say it's a trainer. You could use this as a trainer. Again, trainers, this flies a little faster. It's a good stable plane, but I wouldn't totally consider it a trainer because it's a 4S, got a little bit more speed to it. But it is a good solid platform, and it would make an outstanding second plane. Somebody going up from, let's say, the FMS Ranger to this, boy, that would be the ticket. This would be a fantastic plane, and you'd have a blast with it. So if you're so inclined, take a look. I got the link to Banana Hobby's website below. If you like it, click that, do a little research, see if this is the plane for you. If you like the content that I'm doing on these kind of reviews, hit that like button. I do appreciate it, and it helps the channel out. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Appreciate it. Have a great day.